So, ladies and gentlemen, the question is, what is good evangelism and what is bad evangelism? So let me give you what I would say is an example of bad evangelism. Standing on a street corner with a microphone and shouting at people, telling them that they're all sinners, that Christ has died for their sins, and that there's going to be a judgment in which they either can go to heaven or go to hell. That is an example of bad evangelism. Let me explain why. Is it because it's telling a lie? No. But because we live in a consumer culture in which people expect to be engaged as equals. They expect to be heard. Now, I am aware of the irony, because here I am shouting at people, but this is Speaker's Corner. You've come here to listen to people speak. But is that what you expect when you go onto the high street? No. You're going about your business, meeting your friends, going shopping, going to the cinema, or whatever else. Going to see your grandmother. You're not going there because you're expecting someone to start shouting at you. Also, ladies and gentlemen, the questions that I get asked in this park, and Billy was a perfect example. Did he ask about sin? Did he ask about Christ's crucifixion as salvation or judgment or heaven and hell? No. He asked about the soul. He asked about the Bible. He asked about other matters. If we are going to be good evangelists, we should make the effort to listen to what are the concerns and the questions that are on people's minds. And we should know enough about our faith to address their question, their concern, based upon our knowledge of Christianity. And that is what good evangelism looks like. So don't go onto street corners shouting at people. Set up a table, have books that cover all kinds of topics, and then talk to people. Treat them with respect. Engage them in conversation. I'll give you a working example. I went to support a Sri Lankan church in Manchester. They had been doing evangelism of the worst kind that I aforementioned for 21 years.
21.
And they never in 21 years saw someone become a Christian. And they said to me, come up and support us in evangelism. We're being harassed by Muslims. So I said I would, on condition that they would only do evangelism as I prescribed. And they agreed. And in 4 hours of evangelism, one person became a Christian. 4 people said that they wanted to go to church the following Sunday. And 4 people asked for follow-up. And 72 people were engaged in spiritual conversations. So you tell me, is wisdom proved by her children? And if wisdom is proved by her children, then hasn't my form of evangelism demonstrated that it works consistently? And isn't it time that the evangelists of this country recognize that I am right, and that being dogmatic about preaching at people and singing at people is the wrong way to do evangelism? If you don't believe me, try it for yourself.
Well done, Bob. Well done, Bob.
Any other questions on evangelism?
Any questions?
Love you, Bob. It's not a question.
Love you too, bro. I'm so sorry, say again?
Repeat that question, Bob.
So he's asking me what reading should we start
Okay.
in our evangelism. The brother has not understood my methodology. My methodology is not about you starting the evangelism. My methodology is about you listening to the other person and listening to what their concerns are and what their question is. And then knowing enough about your faith that you go to the reading that is appropriate to their issue or question. So your very question means that you haven't understood the methodology that I'm teaching.
You're a lead.
Any other question on any aspect of evangelism?
Yeah, you're right. This is the guy. You're right, mate.
No,
Where is it?
no.
Where is
The
it?
methodology that I have said to you
Yeah.
cannot be prescribed. It isn't formulaic. You must be, as an evangelist, a deep scholar of the faith, and then you must listen to what they want to talk about.
Listen.
So stop with your formulas. Stop with your formulaics. Know your faith deep enough and broad enough that you can talk about nearly any question. And if you can't, then you simply say to the person, hey, great question. I don't know. Let's exchange numbers. Let me take you out for a coffee. I'll go away and do the research and I'll come back with the answer. Go on.
That's better.
On evangelism.
How do you do relational evangelism when they're interested, but part of it they're just trying to like counsel you or trap you? So, for example, if you're like in the workplace with like queer people, for example,
Yep.
just trying to counsel. What if there's like a risk?
Right, ladies and gentlemen. So how do we do relationship evangelism
Instead of shouting.
in the workplace where there are dangers of people who want to entrap us? It is simply about using your wisdom. I've been in the workplace when gay militants have tried to entrap me in questions. And they've gone, you're a Christian. What do you think about homosexuality? Or what do you think about gay marriage? Obviously, as a Christian, I don't believe in gay marriage.
No, we don't.
But I'm not stupid either. I don't foolishly answer questions in the workplace in an unwise way. So what I say to them is something like this.
Hey, lads.
That's a great question, Helen.
Carry.
But unfortunately, we live in the United Kingdom where I don't have freedom of speech. And whilst I would love to answer the question, I am afraid that I can't, because if I do, I might be punished. Now, I'll ask you, what do you think Helen will infer from the answer? That I'm a bigot, right? But I have not gone along with the liberal lifestyle. I would then say to her something like this. What I advise you to do is go to the Vatican website or the catechism of such and such a church and read it for yourself and come to your own conclusion. That's all I can say right now.
That's a good answer.
And then, ladies and gentlemen, if she puts in a complaint, I can say to her that I never said it was wrong. I never said it was bad. I just said I can't answer the question, and I gave her a reference where she could research the answer for herself.
Yeah, that's wise. That's wise.
just say and forget who cares if you get fired?
Right, ladies and gentlemen.
The question.
The answer is, so don't you think we should just say and not care if you get fired? Really depends on your circumstances. If you're a mother who's on living wage and you're looking after children and they're dependent upon your wage for an income, you've got to act wisely. And so it is not always wise just to charge in there like a bull in a china shop and give the answer if you're going to lose your job. There are some things that you should lose your job for, but this is not one of those questions. There are some things that you should lose your job for. If our employers ever said to us, you must deny Jesus or be sacked, sack me.
Sack me.
Sack me now.
Straight away.
I'll go out the door dancing and cheering. But you don't have to die as a Christian on every hill. And on something that's pastoral, like questions around homosexuality, we have an affordability to be wise. The only questions that we need to die on a hill for are literally questions of life and death. Like, if they compel Christian doctors to carry out abortion or euthanasia, Christians need to be sacked rather than do that. Or if we're told to deny our faith in Jesus, Christians should be sacked before we die on that hill.
Sacky.
But, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to die on every hill, and your circumstances might mean that you shouldn't, because your duty of love requires that you work out your faith in love. Because that's what it says in Scripture. Work out your faith in love. And there is an order to love. If you can afford to lose your job because you can afford to make a stand, then do so. But if you can't afford to, then don't. It depends on your circumstances and the application of wisdom or love. Let someone else ask a question. Any other questions on the application of faith and love in the workplace? Faith and love in the workplace.
What protections do we have? Because there should be surely some like freedom of thought around religious protection as well.
Yeah.
I know there is in America, but is there any in the UK that protects from some of this?
So, the ladies and gentlemen,
Sorry to interrupt. But is it
I'm
not
sorry,
that
I'm
you're
just
a warlock?
answering his question.
You're a warlock, aren't
Don't
you?
be rude. Now I'm not going to take any questions from you. Right. So in answer to his question, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, I forgot the question.
Legal protection.
Oh, legal protections, yeah. The British Constitution has adopted the Human Rights Charter in toto. That Human Rights Charter under clause, I think it's 9, grants you protection under religious freedom. But the reality is, ladies and gentlemen, when this is being tested in the court, we're seeing again and again that the commitment of the liberal progressives who control our courts to this charter is at best flaccid and limp-wristed. It is soy. And the reality is Christians are not well protected under the law. Furthermore, with the passing of the Communications Act, which came into effect this week, and the future proposal of the Islamophobia law that may very well become law, freedom of speech in this country is essentially, to all intents and purposes, dead. All of you need now to accept that reality. Freedom of speech in this country is dead. Deal with it, because we allowed it to happen on our watch. But if we want to give a better world to our children, we must organise in every possible way to win back the freedoms that the Labour tyranny and the progressive tyrants are trying to take away from us. And we must win back our freedoms, like the freedom of speech, ladies and gentlemen. Any other questions on the freedom of speech and Christianity?
When would you say freedom of speech died?
Literally this year. Any other questions of free speech and Christianity?
Why did it?
Let someone else ask a question.
How can we organise the way you're speaking about?
Right. How can we organise as Christians? Get political. Anyone who teaches you that Christianity and politics doesn't mix, or that Christianity doesn't have a political agenda, if they are a Christian, they are simply wrong. They may still be a Christian. This is not one of those issues that decides whether you're a Christian, but anyone who tells you that Christianity is not political or does not have a political agenda simply doesn't understand the Bible properly. They are wrong.
Example, please.
I'm dealing with your first question. Therefore, as Christians, we should organise politically. Get behind Christian political parties like the Christian People's Alliance, who at this moment is badly led by Sid Cordell, a man who has run out of steam, run out of ideas, and can't advance the party anymore. But that party is moribund because too many Christians are joining the Reform Party or the Labour Party or the Conservative Party than actually getting behind a Christian political movement. We've already seen, ladies and gentlemen, that Muslim militants and progressive militants are elected to Parliament to stand up for their ideologies. But how many MPs are in Parliament defending Christianity?
None.
I know of one, maybe two, possibly three or four. But the reality is, we would have more MPs in Parliament if we did two things. One, we consolidated behind overtly Christian political parties. And two, we consolidated the Christian community geographically by constituency and all moved into the same areas so that we became the dominant demographic, and then our voice would be heard. Any other questions on Christianity and democracy?